yards, 13th in completion percentage, 5th in touchdowns, 2nd in interceptions, number 1 in QB wins, and number 1 in MVP odds. That's true, Sam Darnold. Allen, number 2, Lamar, CJ, and Darnold, all tied for 3rd place. Wow. Nick, does he deserve to be the MVP?
No.
Oh, hold on. Well, so right now he is
MVP
clearly,
fade.
Does he deserve to?
Right now.
Well, right, but so those are actually, I think, very different questions. Right. He is clearly not the MVP through 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It is smart by Vegas to make him the favorite, because despite how pedestrian some of his numbers are and downright bad the interceptions are, like Wild said, the second most interceptions in the entire league is Patrick Mahomes. He's still, like you said, 5th in touchdowns and 11th in yards, but 80 away from being 5th in yards as well. And so there is also, for the first time in a while, a potential real narrative swing his way because of the injuries.
True.
And we know the history says the MVP comes from the 1 or the 2 seed. And I think the Chiefs are in great position for that. So I want to make this very clear. Not only has he not played at an MVP level up to this point this year, he, in my opinion, it's not my opinion, it's the worst start to a season of his career, and he has played average football. Not by his standards, just by NFL standards. I think he's played average football, but I still think he is a smart bet. What do you being a smart ass?
I think for Nick to say that just tells you how bad it's been. For him to say anything that's not glowing tells you how bad
All
it's
I
been.
ever am is honest.
When you look at this list, obviously Sam Darnold should be the runaway for MVP based off of how he played.
Okay, let's make that.
But hold on. But we all realize that this could easily go pumpkin mode at any point. But where he is right now, it's clear. But let's take a look at how bad Patrick's been.
Oh man.
Okay. So look, there's his MVP years. His touchdown percentage 8.6, 6.3. So he's at 5.0. That's a little bit better than last year, which was his worst year of his career. His interception percentage at 4.1 is 2% worse than last year, which was the worst interception year of his career. And then you look at his passer rating, it's the worst of his career. So the idea that numbers like this could actually could translate into the MVP, it's
okay,
amazing.
well, let me, hold
amazing that we're in this space.
Coach, well, let me just ask you this real quick. Because you, unlike Brew, you do dabble occasionally in investments or gambling. He's 3-1. It sounds like you think he should be 20-1. Like he has no shot at it. Or do you think it could correct itself?
No, I'm disappointed with the group that's around him challenging him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What do you mean?
I wish there was there were other guys that could push Patrick on a consistent basis. And I guess I've been used to different types of competition at the quarterback position over time. You just don't have the same level of quarterback play. And not to be like the guy yelling on the corner.
Well, that's exactly what you said.
But that's how I sound. But
yeah, a lot of quarterback play was way better 20 years ago.
Well, I'm just saying when you've got Manning, Roethlisberger, Breeze, Brady, like you've got a group there that if you look at it statistically and how often they switch in terms of winning and losing, now it's just
one guy does all
not
the
there.
winning.
Yeah, but he's doing you're right, he's doing the winning at a very pedestrian level of performance, which speaks to some degree the competition.
Well, Nick, like you, I picked him as in my preseason pick as the MVP. I do think, Nick, we're getting close to the time where he shouldn't be the favorite. He can right now because there's still 13 games left.
Because Josh Allen.
But
so why would he be favorite now?
Another couple of pedestrian games, and you'll be a third of the way through the season with Mahomes not looking good. And then I think the path for him would be they go 16-1 or 17-0, and no other player.
There's no chance.
I'm just saying there's no other player with huge statistical numbers and
I'm comfortable saying if they go 16-1, he'll be league MVP.
Do you think that's not on the board? They've been winning.
If they go 16-1 with
with these
the receiver
numbers,
issues that they've had,
he'll be MVP.
Even with these numbers, because you're a miracle worker at that point if you're going 16-1.
I'm just saying.
What if you win 10
right
straight
now?
games with the receiver issues they've had, including 4 playoff games in the Super Bowl? I'm just
I mean, I'm used to longer streaks.
okay.
But
Oh, this guy keeps saying that.
10's a nice stuff. You keep working at it.
All right,
Brew, you
I've
have your-
got.
All right. I mean, it's funny that Nick said that Patrick Mahomes' numbers are average. And I know, a lot of people probably believe that. And let me just show you how, how bias can set in, as well as how misleading stats can be, no matter which way you want to look at it. Look at this. Jalen Hurts, who people think is awful this season. Nick Wright thinks is downright awful. Bottom quarterback. But then look at the stats. 930 passing yards to Patrick Mahomes' 904 passing yards. And Nick was just going through the stats of Patrick Mahomes, saying, oh, well, he's just 40 yards away from being fifth in the league and this in the league. 163 rushing yards. Patrick Mahomes only has 61 rushing yards. 4 passing touchdowns, 6 passing touchdowns. 4 interceptions to Patrick Mahomes' 5 interceptions. And a QBR of 61.5 to Patrick Mahomes' 53.1. What this shows us is a couple of things. One, how misleading statistics can be, because if you just look at that, you would say, well, Jalen Hurts is clearly the better quarterback. You got to go with Jalen Hurts, right? And so if that's truth, right? If we know that Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, then you can't keep using all of these statistics to say Patrick Mahomes is the best. It's also proof that you have one team that's 2-2 and another team that's 4-0, and then you have to start to admit, maybe there are other factors at play why a team wins and why a team loses. Interesting. Very interesting. So, yeah, the whole idea that Patrick Mahomes is the MVP favorite is comically, hilariously absurd at this point. And it's a farce. And I will give Nick credit because he did say that Patrick Mahomes is not playing like an MVP right now, but he then said that he's playing average rather than just downright bad. And it's like, well, then you have to say that Jalen Hurts is playing average, right? Like we gotta be consistent. We gotta be consistent. It's the way it works, right? You gotta be consistent. And so yeah, I just think these conversations always continue to make me laugh. I mean, Jaden Daniels deserves to be up there over Patrick Mahomes for the MVP list. Let me see if I can get the top list again. Where was it? Okay, there it is. Right? CJ Stroud tied for third. I mean, again, Jaden Daniels should be above there. It should be Sam Darnold and Jaden Daniels, top 2. And then Lamar and Josh Allen, right? Those should be the top 4. Mahomes shouldn't even be, man, I don't even know at this point where he should be. CJ Stroud can be up there as well. But yeah, it just shows you, and I understand, right? These odds are different because it's saying that, it's betting on Mahomes getting better and the Chiefs getting better. So it's more of like a prediction of how the season will unfold and not who is playing like an MVP right now. But we can see, because Nick is also a huge fan of going back in time, especially when evaluating Jalen Hurts. And it's like, well, look at Patrick Mahomes' trend now. Like, they are going significantly down, right? I mean, he's been now playing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 and a quarter seasons. And, 3 of those seasons right now are under 100 passer rating, right? Like, that's, I don't know, that's not good. Now, you guys are going to wrongly say that I am hating on Patrick Mahomes, or that I'm trying to say that and you would be wrong, because I think Patrick Mahomes is indeed one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. And if we were to go do this draft again, I would absolutely pick Patrick Mahomes to be my quarterback for my fake team that I apparently own and have control over. So yes, miss me with the nonsense of me being a Patrick Mahomes hater. Miss me with the nonsense that I'm being this and that and the third, because it's just not true. I guarantee you that I was rooting for Patrick Mahomes before majority of you bandwagon fans who probably didn't start rooting for Mahomes and the Chiefs until after they had already won a Super Bowl. But the truth of the matter is we just can't have an honest conversation around Mahomes. No one has been able to say that he's been playing awful, downright terrible, and that he didn't play great last year either. right? But everyone still wants to just say, he's the best, he's the best, he's the best. He's not playing like the best right now. He's just not, and he hasn't now for a long stretch. And we can't say on one side, look at these numbers. These numbers prove that this quarterback is a bad quarterback, right? We use it as proof that this quarterback is a bad quarterback. But then when another quarterback has the same numbers, we say, well, no, those numbers are just average, or no, those numbers are misleading because look what he's doing situationally. He's doing what it needs to be done in order to win the games. And it's like, you can't have it both ways. You got to always add nuance. You always got to add nuance to the numbers. And again, you can make the argument that Jalen Hurts is playing awful, right? And you could say that the numbers back that up. And if the numbers back it up, then the numbers would have to back it up for Patrick Mahomes as well. So again, you got to just be consistent with this because as I've also always talked about, you can have bad numbers and still play great. You can have bad numbers and still do enough to have your team win and do what your team is asking you to play. You don't always need numbers. You don't always need a game that's 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and rushing for 80. That's not what this is all about. It's just trying to figure out when can we be consistent about the numbers, because the truth of the matter is that those numbers would be okay if Patrick Mahomes wasn't also turning the ball over, or if the way how the interceptions were going were because he needed to be Superman in the game, right? He needed to be Superman, and so he was really trying to push the ball down the field, or they were playing from behind, and he's got to take a chance. He's got to try to win the game. That's not the case here. That's the key part here. Patrick Mahomes is just throwing terrible passes, terrible passes that are actively hurting his team. Whereas when we can compare us to some of these other quarterbacks that maybe have interceptions and not Jalen Hurts, but it's like they got to do it. They got to push the ball down. Matthew Stafford comes to mind, right? What he's been trying to accomplish with the team that he has right now with the Rams. It's like, well, what do you want him to do? The guy has to do anything he can just to get the ball down the field. They got to put up points. Their defense is a mess. Their offensive line is a mess. They have no weapons. He's got to try something. That's not the case. Patrick Mahomes is also playing poor situational football, but he's just really lucky that the defense is able to help it, is able to kind of carry their weight here. So it's okay to acknowledge that. You can be a Patrick Mahomes super fan and a Kansas City Chiefs super fan and still acknowledge that Patrick Mahomes is playing awful right now. It's okay. You're going to be okay. Everything will be okay. You're not going to have to trade in your Patrick Mahomes card. You're not going to have to trade in your Kansas City Chiefs card. You can still be a mega fan. And you know what? You can also have people say Patrick Mahomes isn't really playing that well. And you know what? The Chiefs have been very fortunate to be able to come away with all these wins and it not mean that you're just a hater, right? Like all of these things can be true and it's going to be okay. I promise you. I promise you, Chiefs fans, I promise you, it's going to be okay. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is going to win another Super Bowl, whether it's this year or in years in the future. It's going to be okay. I promise you. We can have an honest discussion around the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be okay. I promise. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. I really would on this one. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Patrick Mahomes deserves to be the MVP favorite? And what do you think about those numbers, between Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes? Because I know Kansas City Chiefs fans hate Jalen Hurts and think he's absolute trash and awful. So I guess, I guess that means Patrick Mahomes is absolute trash and awful. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.